The other thing I want to say is that communication can develop only in the context of relationships, and this cannot be emphasized too much. So when a child stops responding to a parent because they're no longer hearing that parent's voice, parents make meaning of that. It can really disrupt and interrupt parent-child relationships because parents can start making up stories like we all do about, oh, my child is behaving badly, or my child is not attending to me, or even my child doesn't like me, doesn't want to engage with me socially, isn't interested in me, some of those things. And we know that this sort of, that babies who don't have this communication cycle, the serve and return, reinforced by their primary parental figures, their language will be delayed. That language is a social construct, and that it has to be reinforced in relationship. So I know that there's a big emphasis on parent-child relationships in the home visiting programs, and communication is a huge part of that. And so you therefore are very important in helping to support the communication development through the parent-child relationship. More than 80% of what children learn is by overhearing. I think this is a super important thing too. Incidental learning is so critical. And when kids don't have access because of a hearing loss to overhearing, they don't have access to learning super important things about their social context, about their home environment, about relationships, about the meaning of relationships, all of that. And so when a child has a hearing loss, we need to either make sure that they have access to the environmental signals, the auditory environmental signals, or we need to put some serious emphasis on creating more visual signals in that child's environment and being very explicit about making sure that the child has access to those visual signals. Kids are super perceptive too, right? So I just want to share a little story here about a parent who had a child who was hard of hearing, and the parent's primary concern was that this child had seemed to be demonstrating a lot of anxiety. It was a little one. I would say, like, you know, the mom was sort of describing her as super clingy, can't set her down, can't leave the room without her crying super hard, that sort of thing. So when we were observing this parent and child, they were just playing together on the floor, and we were just kind of observing the relationship when the door rang and the mom got up and went to go answer the door. What we observed was that the child had been engaged in playing on the floor, and when she looked up, the mom was gone. What she didn't hear was the environmental signal that the doorbell had rang and that the mom had gotten up to go to the door. What she observed from her little experience was that mom was with her playing one moment and gone the next. So you can start to see how some of those environmental indicators would help the child feel more secure in their environment because, oh, the doorbell rings, mom goes to the door. That's the pattern. But without the signal of the doorbell ringing, mom just disappears, or for seemingly no reason, disengages in play and leaves. And so sometimes what looks like anxiety or stress comes from not understanding what's happening in the environment. So being really explicit to say to the child, you know, oh, I heard the doorbell, I'm going to go answer the door now, and making the environment explicit is a super important thing to do and to be aware of. That's another piece that makes kids who are deaf or hard of hearing unique, and something that I think folks might not really think about if this is not what you live and breathe every day like I do. So incidental learning matters.